My name's Paul Russell. I'm the CTO at Gumtree Group. We use I actually don't know the name of the SDK. We use Stream for chat. I don't know which SDK that actually is. We also use AutoMod. Gumtree is a broad horizontal marketplace. We have buyers and sellers. Sellers either pay to list in some categories and it's free to list in others. And of course, we match them with buyers who are looking to find themselves a good deal. And the Stream chat feature is the way that our buyers and sellers communicate. And we do our best to keep our buyers and sellers communicating on the platform so that we can try and keep that communication as safe as possible. It's text-based chat. They share photos as well. Often it's, can you show me that thing in more detail, for example? We spend a lot of time making sure that we are monitoring those conversations for scams and other fraud. And we also making sure that we keep the buyers and sellers anonymous so that they can't track each other down. Previously owned by the eBay Classifieds group who sold all their classifieds to Adevinta, who then sold Australia, and we became an Australian-owned company. As part of that process, we needed to stop using all of the systems provided by our former owner. And it just so happens that that messaging system was one of those systems. So it was an in-house system built in by the eBay Classifieds group a long time ago that we were using. We had to replace it with something. So we went into a market evaluation process and selected a commercially available chat product. The in-house solution that we were using was built by a global tech company. And we're not that, we're a small Australian company. So we wouldn't have the resources and the time to build our own in-house solution. So it really just made sense to buy a commercially available product. That was a relatively easy decision. We're not in the business. We're in the business of building marketplaces, not of building chat products. We first did a bit of a, desk-based research looking for what are the main products in the market. And we selected the two that we thought were the leading ones, yourself and one other. We went through a reasonably rigorous evaluation process and ended up choosing Stream over the other one. And I guess the competitor I'm talking about is integrated into quite a few other marketplaces around the world as well. So it seemed like we came down to the natural two top offerings. And as I said, competitive evaluation and chose Stream. It came down to two things really. From a technical point of view, the SDK was much easier to use. So we were really confident we would get it to market faster. And AutoMod, we really have, we had nothing and we really needed a very significant product that was going to help us analyze those chats and make sure we keep our customers safe. So they were the two things that differentiated the product from the competitor. So as part of the evaluation process, a really rough POC was knocked together by just a handful of developers in just a few weeks. That was quick and easy and gave us some good insight into what the product was going to be like. When it came to, so once we had selected the product and we were going to start actually replacing our previous product with Stream, that was probably 8 developers for around 7 months. A handful of other developers were involved for quite a while in doing a few related tasks, for example, migrating our many hundreds of millions of messages from the old system to the new system. But that core team was roughly around 8 people. Well, at the moment, because of the type of project it was, where we were replacing an existing product, we had a very tight timeline to do it. We were only able to use the system that was owned by our former owner for a certain period of time. So we had a very hard deadline. Therefore, we had to keep the scope of that replacement really quite tight. The most important thing is we had a reliable messaging system up and running and providing that moderation that we required before our time ran out with the old system. So we weren't, we kept that scope nice and tight so that we could make sure we hit that deadline. The sales team was nice and professional. So that was a relatively straightforward process. I guess fairly rigorous commercial negotiation was required. Of course, it's an expensive product which we are contracted to over a number of years. So it was important we got the right shape of the commercial agreement. Customer support has been good. We have a dedicated Slack channel where we can raise issues and they get jumped on immediately. That's been a good process. It's very handy to have quite good access to the people in the Stream organization, not having to go through a help desk to raise a ticket and not hear back for days. We have quite a good amount of contact with that team. So I guess the first bit of feedback we had from our users is we stopped hearing that their messages were getting lost. And just being honest, the previous system used to lose messages occasionally, and that stopped, which is probably the right sort of feedback we'd like to hear. But for a lot of people, chat is kind of like electricity. You just expect it to work, and it does. And so that's probably really what we were aiming for with that first release. Just replace the product and make sure it worked well. And it's been a good, robust product. We have lots of buyers and sellers communicating with each other, and a very small percentage of those are fraudulent people who are looking to try and scam the other person. And so it's really important that we actively monitor all of those messages and make sure we weed out people who are trying to commit scam. And I guess in the old days, it was regular expressions and other relatively easy sorts of or inadequate protections that would identify those messages. It was easy for scammers to identify how their messages were being identified and to work around them. So we were looking for something that was that next generation, and AutoMod being machine learning based meant that we could define much more broad parameters, and it would understand what people were trying to do, what they were trying to get at. And we have seen it be much more successful in terms of identifying fraudulent activity and blocking it for us. It had automatic moderation, but it was all regular expression based, which is too simplistic. That was the word I was looking for. It's too simplistic. We had a enormous number of regular expressions, and they weren't particularly effective at identifying fraud because fraudsters had no real trouble getting around them. Whereas with machine learning based moderation, it's much harder for them to do that. Even if they change the words, the sentiment is still the same and it still gets picked up. And so it has proven to be much more effective. For the last 2 months of that time period, we had our customer service team working with Stream to define all those semantic filters. We did quite a lot of testing. We would replay months and months of messages through the old and the new system to make sure that we were picking out the fraudulent but also not getting too many false positives. So we measure fraud in both dimensions. Are we taking out all the fraud, and how many non-fraudulent messages are we accidentally holding back? So there's two sides to that measurement, and we spent a lot of time doing that just to make sure that we had the filters right and the system was working well.